Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. Update on the weekend weather as we're getting into that pattern of hot, humid days with these scattered storms. Some coming in during the morning hours like we saw this morning with some scattered showers and storms. But here's the good news. This is not an all-day rain setup. This is not something that will totally change your plans. But we're going to see those scattered storms be an issue, I think, just about every day this weekend. You can see the good old-fashioned ring of fire, and that term comes from the high-pressure system which sits over the Mid-South. This is where all the heat and humidity is, and the ring of thunderstorms that form on the edge and then track around the high pressure system. So these storms, you could see one made it into eastern Tennessee this morning. We saw a few sprinkles move into the Carolinas, but the clouds are thinning quick. This is not going to last long. You're going to see the sun come out here pretty quickly this afternoon and the temperatures go up. But there's another system on its heels, and this is going to be the trend. One right there. This is going to make a very similar track. But as the ridge of high pressure down here begins to shift to the east, so does that track. So that puts us more in line to see these scattered storms. Now, speaking of those scattered storms and that ridge of high pressure, let's take a look at those temperatures right now because it is really, really toasty underneath that ridge. The reason we talk about the heat dome is you can see it kind of centered over Louisiana right now. Look at all that hot, humid weather sitting over the Mid-South, and this is going to be slowly shifting our way over the next 24 hours. Let's talk about severe weather risk, though. Today, this is the day one risk. You can see we're kind of in the low end risk. There's the medium risk back to the west. I'm going to turn the radar off here for a second and show you tomorrow that risk begins to shift to the east. Let me turn off the lightning here real quickly, and this will show you, kind of get rid of all the lightning data here so you can see it. There's the medium risk moving into the Carolinas. And then let's go to day 3, which is Sunday. That risk begins to shift back to the north. So you can see the pattern. We're going to see hot, humid days with the chance for these scattered strong storms. Some of them can develop at night. And I'll show you the futurecast, which hints at this, that we could see some overnight and even morning storms. So here's the 48-hour futurecast showing the ring of fire setup. You see the storms this morning, they dissipate, we get into the heat and humidity. So we'll be blazing hot here eventually by late this afternoon into the evening. Could even see some low 90s. Where we need to watch for additional storms is going to be off to the northwest. You could see over Chicago, the Midwest. This is the area I'll be watching. Where do these storms develop, and then how do they track, and do they make it into the Carolinas? So this is 5 o'clock today. We'll go into the overnight hours. Again, there could be a pop-up storm this afternoon or this evening, but it's really the overnight hours. You see that big cluster forming over Illinois and Indiana? We call that an MCS. It's a thunderstorm complex. Where does that go by Saturday morning? So 5, 6, 7 in the morning, this thing takes the right turn. It forms up here and then starts churning to the southeast. And this is where we could see storms. So on Saturday morning, we could wake up to showers and thunderstorms, kind of like what we saw this morning in Tennessee. But this go around, they'll be closer to the western Carolinas, likely affecting the mountains and then moving down into the Piedmont by mid-morning. So you could see morning storms on Saturday. This is not the typical time you see them with summer pattern, but with these MCS tracks, we call it, they can happen early in the day. They clear out and then the sun comes out and things get toasty in the afternoon. And we watch for another one developing back to the northwest, which makes another run at the Carolinas during the wee hours of possibly Sunday morning. So unlike our typical summer pattern where it's afternoon pop-up storms, some of these are going to be impacting us in the morning hours. And again, just to show you the ring of fire, let's loop this and you'll see the storms forming and going around the high pressure system. This is why it's called the ring of fire. The storms form like this in a ring around the high pressure system. And when you loop that, you end up seeing that again and again, these storms firing up. So that's the pattern we're going into this weekend. Mid-90s for highs. It's going to feel like triple digits. And we'll be watching these big complexes of thunderstorms that could affect us mainly in the overnight hours and early morning hours, both Saturday, Sunday morning, and maybe even some pop-up storms on Monday. Stay tuned.